or which one you're speaking against, and then you'll come up here and you'll state your name and address, and then you'll have 4 or 5 minutes to say what you want to say. But that form's real simple. It's not. It's pretty much just name and address. Yeah.
Good, how are you today?
No, so just get up there and say whatever you want to say. But Ethan will explain the whole process in a few minutes when he gets here. Lord have mercy, what is that? Every commercial rental unit that I've got, I got a maintenance issue, and I've got one that they're in the process of putting a new tenant in.
So we vote on it in a month.
They turned the power off and let the water run. So what did you think happened today? Whole thing flooded.
Hey.
Take all that.
It doesn't show it on the agenda, but we do have two plats, and I'll be really quick.
Okay,
Promises.
it's fine.
Short man.
Is everybody gonna be here?
Antonio's here, just saw
Yeah, he was out in the street. I saw him out there.
I saw Ethan just walking in.
And just walk by.
Yeah.
He walked past.
Well, with my new little fun part-time job that I'm doing,
What's that?
Raspberry Road.
Oh,
It's like, this is the perfect job for the
I used to love old Pat Spence before.
For
she
the
passed.
empty, it's the perfect job for an empty nester, let me tell you, because like I've got to leave, I'm leaving tomorrow to go spend a few days with my parents, and, so I can,
What is her daughter's name? I know her.
Krista.
Krista. Yeah.
anyway, so all the pipes were frozen there this morning, so we had to
Really?
use the Oakwoods bathroom.
Well,
Any more about
I didn't
that,
know that
senior,
Hamilton rents for me and changes their doctor.
living center there off of
So they don't have any
that side street and back up to Windermere? I know you're on the other side of the street from where Jody is, but
So my next door neighbor that I own.
But yeah, be no access to
Called me at
Hackville.
about 3:30.
I was gonna ask for a
Coming under
40-foot
Fall Wall.
buffer on the backside, but probably more than that, because there's a big gully that I don't think you can
They're on-
fill in,
they've already
would be
called
expensive, and you'd have to put in
people in there.
drainage and all that, so just leave
I
that.
think that whole unit.
But he didn't wanna bring it up if everybody's gonna be against it. I said, well, so far I hadn't found too many people
No,
against it, but
it's happened today.
You guys are in
What happened was
phase one, so
it
you tell
started
me.
to thaw,
Yeah.
And when it thawed today,
Then
I said water's running out from under the
No,
mountain.
when it goes down that road, which is not a great road as far as what's down that road.
No,
But
but, I mean, it does limit that.
like for 2 hours, I've just been, my phone's just been. Something, I'm Shalford over time now. Not that anybody put them
Right. I don't know what this turns on. It's a good question. I can pull it up. It's been for sale. It must be commercial because I think Publix wants to do something there. But this will be obviously residential, but it'll be the multi-family because there'll be some cottages and some four-way duplexes.
It's on me.
How long they been gone?
I mean, just on the face of it, if you not see anything.
Yeah, but I'll get it.
Exactly what exactly it is.
They got insurance.
I don't think so.
They've only built in Georgia, but I've looked at their stuff outside, obviously not
Hey,
around and it looks, of course, it'll be new, so it'll look nice anyway, but this stuff looks pretty good. They've got some senior stuff and they've got some, other kind of stuff. It'll be 55 and up, but not full service, nursing home, just
Hey, Ethan,
senior.
are those forms out there? Okay, somebody.
Just along, so yeah, it's just, yeah, I work anywhere, I mean, I've
What's her
been,
husband's name?
Rick Long. Yeah,
I used to deal with Pat at the
Have like
bank.
a clubhouse or
years ago.
something?
She was a sweet lady.
they've got me, they're like, we'll take you whenever we can get you, and so, the last, since,
And her husband's name's Ronnie.
yes, well, Pat died several years ago.
Yeah, I knew that, but Ronnie's still.
Yeah, Ronnie still comes in, but, I mean, I've been working like
74 bungalow.
between 27 and 32 hours a week, which is different, yeah.
What did Pat die from? I don't remember.
Cancer of some sort, and I can't remember exactly what kind.
Yeah, because it's commercial.
But they're very, like, I can get up and go to the gym, I can run my errands, I can get there anytime
Oh, well, they're
between
awesome people.
10 and 12. As long as I can be there in the afternoons. Dana Silver still works there, her cousin, so
The new Robert Smalley.
But you like it, right? And
was
it's the
fun.
kind of thing you like.
I'm really good at helping people spend their money.
That would look good.
And in my own.
Let me show you this over here.
Do you think any more about that senior behind your house?
Just kidding.
That senior living behind Windermere? What do you think's about it? You can tell them they don't want to bring it if everybody's going to be against it. I haven't found too many people against it, but you're the main one impacted.
What about David?
He said on the face of it, he didn't think it would be a problem.
I'd want to see how far it's going to be.
I would ask for at least a 40-foot buffer on their side and a 20-foot on that.
And there would be no entrance we got in.
Only on that side street, which doesn't have the best
But it really
properties
wouldn't
already.
affect me at all. I mean,
Other than you might be able to see him in the winter. You might be able to see the back or something in the winter.
So Surf Pro was there. And the water
depending on
turned
where it was.
They called me and said,
How many units?
Some of them are bungalows, some of them are like four flexes.
I mean, I'm not, I mean, my knee-jerk reaction is to be against it, but I mean,
I've got other properties around the state. I can
this deal's mine.
Yeah.
That is-
Surf Pro.
Surf Pro's already there.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Don't tell them what they're called. 'Cause I think it was in the ceiling, I think it's
Oh, we
busted
got
in the
too many
ceiling.
chairs in here.
So that was fixed in 2 days. I mean, you know,
I said, I'm sure, we thought you were.
what it is.
I just need one of y'all.
Yeah.
He and Bob got it under control.
This is it, right? Greg's not coming.
Yeah, he's definitely going to Atlanta. One of y'all could have gone if you wanted. Yeah, me too. But it got canceled. We got stands now.
I'm glad we don't have to deal with it.
You know, I had a crisis come up and left mine at home. I'm gonna have to look at it on here. Oh, yeah, that's good.
Game review. Especially when it's free. I had to do a survey. I did a long one. No, it's really nice. It's really nice inside. About $300 a night, but most of it's not. Most of it's less than 200. It can be 300 if it's the biggest room on the biggest night, but most of it's less than 200. It's like during the week. During the week, it's less. How much? Single room during the week, I think, not on the weekends. That's a bait and switch. Ready? I'd like to bring this meeting of the Whitfield County Dalton Varnell Planning Commission meeting to order for January 22nd, 2024. Pass it over to Chairman Litterdale.
Thank you, sir. First order of business tonight is to declare we do have a quorum. Eric is not with us. Reverb. Second is to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any additions, deletions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That was David and Octavio. Before we get to the business, I'd like to make sure that item A, everybody knows that the Doug Gap rezoning was retracted. So if any of you are here tonight for that, it will not be heard tonight. It's just what's on the board. Before we get to that, Mr. Ethan Calhoun from the Northwest Georgia office will tell us how we are, what we have to do tonight, what you have to do for those who would like to speak. Go ahead, Ethan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, we have agendas for the meeting tonight. If anyone doesn't have an agenda and would like to have one, you can see it there on the screen. We also have them in hard copies out front. Also out front, we have our procedures and standards. Should anyone like to look at those, our meeting is governed by a set of procedures and standards that are in accordance with state law. Again, we have those out front as well. But very quickly, our procedures are very simple. The chairman of the Planning Commission will govern this meeting, and during each of the items on the agenda, the chairman will introduce the item and then request that a staff person will come forward to give a recommendation from the city or county staff. That'll be myself. Once that comment has been heard, the chairman will ask the petitioner, the person who's here tonight, who's requesting to rezone their property to come forward to the podium and address the Planning Commission and Board of Commissioners with their proposal. Once the petitioner's comments have been heard, the chairman will ask if anyone else here tonight is here to speak in favor of the item. Once all comments for that rezoning have been heard, the chairman will ask if anyone here tonight is here to speak in opposition of any of the items on the agenda. It's very important that if you're here tonight to speak in opposition of any of the items on the agenda, that out front, you would pick up one of the forms that we have, the opposition forms. It's required by state law. You have to sign a disclosure, and please do print your name and clearly note the item on the agenda that you're going to oppose, and make sure that you, as well as signing it, have clearly printed your name so that we can be sure that your name and your comments correctly listed in the minutes. Once all the comments in opposition have been heard, the chairman will ask if the petitioner would like to come back and rebuttal and address any of the issues that were raised in the opposition's remarks. Once the petitioner has finished their comments, if no new information is presented in the petitioner's rebuttal, the chairman will then close that public hearing, and there'll be no further public comment on that agenda item for the rest of the meeting. The chairman will then close that hearing, move to the next item, and that same procedure will occur. We first hear comments in favor of, we hear comments in opposition of. The purpose of tonight's meeting is, as a public hearing, to hear comments for and against, so that those can be made part of the record and sent forward to the Board of Commissioners, the city councils of the city of Dalton and the city of Arnell. It'll likely occur in the next meetings of the mayor and council and the Board of Commissioners and their regular meetings that final action will occur. So again, tonight's point of tonight's meeting is to hear comments. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Ethan. So we do have 3 items to review tonight. One is in the county. The first one is in the county. Second one is in the city of Arnell, and the last one is for the city of Dalton. The first one is to hear the request from Hardnett and Peck LLC for special use request for general agricultural district, 60 acres located on Coley Cliff, Rocky Face. Ethan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item may seem familiar to the Planning Commission and Board of Commissioners. This petitioner had come before us earlier last year, I believe, with a request very similar to this on an adjacent tract of land. That request was approved for both their general agriculture zoning and special use permit for the same use that we're seeing here today in this request. Just wanted to give a quick recap. This property, however, is separate, adjacent, but separate from the property that was formerly requested for this same conditional use permit for an event center. And one of the issues that arose from the previous application was an accessibility issue, given that due to the topography and the lack of direct access to Doug Gap Battle Road, the petitioner was struggling with being able to create access to their proposed event center. This property, the subject property that we're looking at today, as you can see on the map, emboldened, has direct access to Doug Gap Battle Road, as opposed to relying on an access easement as the former property from a year ago had an access issue. So with this case, this would remedy that issue, and this is one of the reasons that the petitioner has come before us again to propose this alteration and this request to obtain a special use permit for an event center. If we look here, we can see we saw the zoning. General agriculture is a common zone district in this area. Of course, this proposal would not change the underlying zoning, but rather grant a special use permit specifically for an event center. Currently looking at development in this area, of course, due to the ridge line, varying topography, number of challenges for development throughout this area. You can see on the aerial photograph with existing development being very sparse, very well separated. Here we can see on the future development map, this area is within both the ridge conservation and rural residential character area. And those, of course, the ridge conservation is intended to protect the integrity of the ridge line from any intense development, erosion, things of that nature. And rural residential, of course, is to maintain low density, larger lots, and things to that nature. And when we take a closer look at the subject property, and of course, you can see it's bisected to some degree by utility easement. Also, you can see here a proposed site plan for the subject property and the event center in question. And you can see they have indicated their point of access as well as the area intended for development. You can see that several detached buildings, cottages, small amphitheater, and parking area associated with this as well. Given the existing development in this area, there is a significant separation from any of the proposed structures and development of the subject property. Very similarly to what we saw in their previous request, high degree of separation, a lot of mature vegetation, forestry, topography, separating this property from the adjacent neighbors. And we can see that the majority of this property, based on their site plan, is being left undisturbed and would remain as it is now in green space. Of course, with any development within these areas, county engineer and other permitting offices would, of course, be in charge of any permit granting, if this were to be approved, to monitor erosion and any development that would occur on the property. The petitioner can answer in more specific terms of exactly the details of their plans for the event center and how that would be operated. But as a whole, in terms of conditional use or special use permits that's being requested in this case, the site plan that you see attached here would govern the development of this property if it's approved, and no substantial changes to this site plan could occur without having to come back for another review by the Planning Commission and Board of Commissioners. So this conditional use permit, if approved, would be limited to what we see here in the site plan, along with any other conditions that may be seen fit. Based on the proposed site plan, degree of separation, amount of green space preserved on the property, and overall low intensity of the proposed event facility, the staff recommendation was an approval based on the existing site plan. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
None here, over there. Thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
Mr. Minor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission and the Commissioners. I do represent the petitioner in this action and don't really have a whole lot to add to Ethan's comments. As usual, he did a great job of summarizing the facts as it relates to this particular project. We do feel like that this is a project that's consistent with the not only the topography but the zoning and the comprehensive plan, and feel like it would be a great addition to the community. You probably already had a chance to look at the site plan, which does show a basic leadership type retreat center, which is the intended use of the property. So if you have any questions, I have my client here as well as our civil engineer. If you have any questions as it relates to the project, we would be happy to entertain those.
The question I have, is this going to replace the same request that was approved for the different property last year?
Correct.
So it's just different property?
Different location, as Ethan mentioned, the topography.
So in addition to the previous one?
Correct, yes, sir, yes, sir. I'm sure you all know the
Yeah.
topography of this site. It's rather challenging.
Anybody?
Okay,
No questions?
all right.
She got a question, I think?
Where is this gonna go in at? The access?
On Doug Gap Bound?
Can you zoom that out, Gene, or somebody?
No.
Off the private road, Coley Cliff Drive.
Holly Cliff.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak in favor? Anybody who'd like to speak in opposition? Sir, step on it. State your name and address, please.
Good evening, everyone. Tracy Watford, 143 Coley Cliff. I'm the first house as you pull into the private drive. So I'm there on the left, and my concern this evening is access, okay? Well, you can go down, and once they cut into that logging road and pretty much clear out enough space to have the road, what's going to happen to the drive, all right? You're gonna have all that traffic coming in on a driveway that is only wide enough for one vehicle. So how is that going to be managed?
When you say driveway, are you talking about Coley Cliff
Yes, sir.
Road? Okay.
You have to come in there because it's a little circle, and you go around the little island, and once you get past there, it's only wide enough for one vehicle. And I've seen quite a few times where you got them coming this way, and you got them going that way, and they almost hit each other. So in my opinion, this is not a good idea. It's a private drive. It's not for commercial use. The equipment that's needed to go down there and start work on that is going to destroy that driveway. The gentleman that remodeled his house next to me did significant damage. And you can go and look at the driveway and see where he's patched. He did fix it. But just trailers, Bobcat, stuff like that, did significant damage to the concrete. So when you start doing a project like that, what's it going to do to it? That's another huge concern. Because we all have to go in and out of it, and I will see all that traffic. And then Jose down the way. Now, when they cut into there, they're going right between my house and his house. So you're going to have all that added traffic going down through there. And it's just not designed for that. The other thing is, once it gets down in there and they start building that, they have the land adjacent to that as well. So what's to keep them from coming back and getting another special use permit to tag on to that? And then you're gonna have all that direct access traffic going down that one road. So that's another concern. Can it grow? Quite possibly. And all that traffic is gonna come in that one little drive. The other thing is, if it's a retreat, I mean, if you're gonna have trails and stuff like that, you're going to have people walking up against other people's property. And it comes up against the backside of mine. So that's another concern. I mean, I just don't want people walking all around up there. There's no hunting there currently, and it's a good thing because we enjoy the wildlife. And also, too, it was said that it would be a benefit to the community. Well, how does it really benefit the community? In my opinion, it creates a space for them to conduct business meetings. But it doesn't benefit us, the neighbors that live there, at all. The other thing is just the sheer disruption of having all this done. You're gonna have to put the equipment somewhere. It's gonna have to come in, you got the pull-off there on the right. Yeah, there's some room for that. But for what they're gonna do, you're gonna need a lot of space. So where are they gonna put it? There's nowhere on the drive you can put it. But those are my concerns, and I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak in opposition? Step on it.
Jeff Raymond, live at 510 Babb Road.
I'm Carrie Raymond, same ad. We just built our
We just built our dream house.
We're across the creek from where they're gonna do all this.
The creek as,
Point to it.
can you point to it, please? Down in the flats?
It's not, it doesn't, it's not adjacent to the property, but
This is us.
Oh, that's
that's where we are.
But you're off the mountain
Yeah, right at the base.
at the base.
So right, well, where their walking trails will be down there by the creek, by our neighbor. I agree with him, like, Ethan talks about protecting the ridge line and sparse development, but this goes against all that. It kind of defeats the purpose of general ag when you can get a permit to build that. I mean, it's like a wildlife refuge there, like, I don't know what it's gonna be like after that, the runoff into the creek, our property values. We're gonna have to hear all the noise from that, like, it's peaceful out there now. It's historic. I mean, men lost their lives on the side of that hill, and they're gonna desecrate it with that. I agree with him about the traffic. The mountain road's dangerous. You think about people coming in and out in that sharp curve right there, it's gonna be bad. And I agree with him, like, when does it end? I mean, they had 350 acres there. What's to say they're gonna keep selling it to these guys, developing it? And that whole hillside will be just desecrated. And I agree with, like they said, benefit the citizens. I don't understand how that's gonna benefit any of us. But that's all I gotta say.
I was just, is it okay for me to talk?
Yeah.
I just didn't quite understand the general agriculture zoning. I think I understand that, but then a special permit is what we're calling it, but that seems like a special permit for once every now and then events. But this doesn't seem like that it fits that description in my mind, and that may be something legal in the description that I don't understand in the zoning, but is it, on the sign, does it say
special use
one?
permit
Special
just-
use permit, thank you.
Not a special event.
Yeah, really all that does is it allows a property that has a particular zoning
Uh-huh.
to operate or have something on it that's really, it was not designed for on a case-by-case type basis. So you could have a different type of property with a different type of facility that, again, is not part of the normal zoning, that one-time special use permit allows the owner to do whatever, you know.
Okay, so the one time doesn't mean, okay, what it sounds like.
Right. No.
So that was a little confusing to me. I also agree with everything that has been said. That was just my question.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rebuttal?
Good evening. My name is Joseph Parks I'm a civil engineer with March Adams Engineering. We appreciate your time listening to the case. I've appreciated hearing the concerns of the neighbors, and that's kind of what our profession is about, is addressing the types of concerns they brought up here today. And so when we become civil engineers, these are things that we've kind of resolved to take an oath to protect the neighbors, protect the public. Regarding the construction access, they make a good point, right? That road is narrow. They would have, if we use the Coley Cliff for construction access, they would drive by their house for access. But for construction access, we could bring the construction traffic in off the public right-of-way on Doug Gap Road. That would be difficult for the permanent access, so that's why we didn't take our driveway all the way there, but for tracked vehicles, we could bring them in that way for construction, and then once the road was finished, then they'd be gone, and only the passenger vehicles would take the Coley Cliff to access the new driveway.
So you're saying you could rough grade it for construction access?
Yeah, we could put a construction road from, where the road stops on that drawing up to Doug Gap, just to avoid having to take construction traffic by that neighbor's road on the
Could be
easement.
made permanent?
No.
It'd be too steep. It would be uncomfortable for most passenger vehicles. And there is a existing legal access easement across there, so we're not taking a road that we don't have legal right to use to get across on that private drive. You can also see that the driveway is meandering a little bit, and the point of that is to really minimize the amount of land disturbance, minimize the amount of cut, minimize the amount of stormwater runoff. by following the natural topography like that, we're able to keep grades quite close to the existing grade, so we're not having to bring lots of dirt in or clear more trees than we need to. The intent is to really make it very resort-like, where you're at a camp. You know, you can see we're not trying to run busy traffic come and go. The intent is to come for the weekend, you park your car in the parking lot, or you come by a shuttle van, you're there for 2 days, and then you leave. So the traffic is not like we're running a business where you've got people coming and going during the day. It's kind of, you come for the weekend, and then you leave on Sunday. What else brought up? The hikers. You can see on this drawing on the north side that there's a little kind of a black line that goes into the green space and up to the northeast. Our intent would be to build them a hiking trail so they know where they're going. Well, I don't think most guests would just kind of randomly meander into the woods. So they would have control over that by designing some hiking trail where they would follow that trail, where that trail is going to be dirt or mulch, but we'll keep them on the property there. Another concern was over stormwater runoff. It's one thing we pride ourselves in, is doing a really good job of low-impact stormwater development. So our intent would be to use rain gardens, capture the runoff, infiltrate the runoff, and try to keep that first inch of runoff, stormwater runoff, completely on the property. So instead of having the runoff you would expect from, historically from development, when you use the low-impact development method, it is more expensive, but it allows the opportunity for the groundwater to go back, rainwater to go back into the ground, and to kind of restore the groundwater and protect the runoff from running downstream, to protect the streams. And that's the whole point of the project, is to enjoy the nature that's there and protect it. We're not there to clear cut everything and put in a large parking lot or a mall or anything. We're just very rural, natural, resort, like campground kind of atmosphere here. Did you have any more specific questions for me? Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
I'm familiar with Colley Road, very familiar with a very narrow driveway.
Yes, sir.
Actually, it's not a road, it's a driveway.
Yeah.
It's only in or out. You get, will the county will have to specify what kind of road will have to be built to accommodate the traffic in and out?
Kind of
I'm asking
improvements.
that to the county,
Improvements.
yeah.
Well, it's not a county road, so that was gonna be my question. Does it have any planned improvements after the construction, hypothetically, to Coley Road? Because that's
So-
not a county road. I can't spend money on it.
So if it's not a county road, they don't have to improve it. Is that what you said?
That's accurate. And I can't spend county taxpayers' money on it either. It's not legal.
Is there any intention to improve Coley Drive?
Or at least up to the point where you would turn to go into the proposed facility.
We have to discuss that with our developer and see if she'd be willing to do that. That'd be obviously, the commission deemed could be a condition if you guys felt appropriate.
How long is this drive getting back from Coley Road to?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see.
300 yards.
About half a mile.
Yeah. That's it.
But that's all the way to the end.
Yeah, that would be from Coley Road back to where the cabins would be.
So you have a traffic, one going in and out, and stuck.
So this may not have any merit at all. I'm just thinking, if there were a fire or something of that nature at your facility that's planned, would fire trucks and emergency vehicles be able to get back there?
Yeah, that's another reason that we're meandering the road like that. If we kind of went straight down like the existing road, it'd be steeper than what the fire department recommends. And so our intent is to keep the road grade comfortable for a fire truck to really get back there.
But width and all of that would be,
What we're proposing is kind of 18-foot wide, so it'd be two vehicles passing, slowly, but they'd pass each other.
That's gravel the whole way.
The intent is to do gravel, yes, sir.
So no runoff, that minimize the runoff.
That does minimize the runoff a little bit compared to asphalt or concrete, but we would run, into a grass swale beside the gravel and then run that into bioretention or rain garden to further infiltrate that runoff.
Is that just the intent, or this is the design plans already?
We have not moved into construction drawings yet. This is the first step before we move into construction drawings.
Other questions? Gentlemen? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Without further comment, I think we will close the public portion of this, on this request, and move on to the next one. I think the commissioners will be leaving us at this time, since that is their only request.
Are we allowed to ask questions now, or no? About what he's, about his answers?
Sure.
No.
I mean, if she just had a question, I don't.
You have one question?
Yeah, if it's just a question and not really,
No,
your
no discussion.
comments, yeah.
Yes, just a question.
Sure.
About going in, spending the weekend, and is it only gonna be open on weekends? Is it a
Sure.
weekend type center?
That's, do you have an answer to that?
I do have an answer.
Yeah.
It's really a leadership retreat center, and it's for people to kind of enjoy nature. And it probably will not be open on the weekends that often. It will be mostly during times where the corporate leaders that will come. So it will be maybe a Tuesday, Wednesday night, things like that. Again, my hope is to make this a beautiful space, where people can enjoy nature, low impact. It is not some big party resort. That is not it at all. I am very, I grew up in the country, and my grandfather owned land, and it's still in the family, protected, and I want to protect this space. And it will benefit the community, because we would have leaders from different companies from all over seeing our great city, and they would spend money in the different areas, but it's not gonna be, 200 people, it's
Yeah,
not.
that was my other question, was how
No.
many?
No, it's
You can't
not.
tell from how many
The
cabins.
goal is to, and I travel all over the place doing research in other cities, and typically it's about 25, 30 people. I would never really want more than 50 people there, but on average, it would be 25 to 30. And so when I go to Barnsley Gardens and these other places, Alabama, wherever, that other communities are doing this sort of thing, it is not a whole pile of people.
So how many cabins are you picturing?
So right now, I'm looking at maybe 10, somewhere in that neighborhood.
And the amphitheater would be,
An amphitheater is not like a, it's like a fire pit with some stacked stones where people can just sit and talk and that sort of thing. It's not
it's not
something
like a
like,
concert venue.
it's not like that. No, not at all. It's just
I
not.
worry a little bit too about litter from the walking trail. Like,
Yeah.
I know he says you would have control over, you really don't have control over where people go once they get out on trails, and like, I think about people smoking cigarettes and
That's not.
I know that wouldn't be your intent. It would not be any of our intent, but that is something to consider. That's
Well, people can smoke in their backyards now, right? So it's not, my intent is to have this be protected, be pristine, and to develop it in such a way that we can all be proud of it. But we're right next door to, close to the Trade Center, so if there were bigger things that we wanted to have, we could have them there. I love this community, I'm a part of this community. I would never do anything to hurt the land.
Yes, and I don't have a problem with smoking, I just smoke cigarettes.
All right.
I don't either. I don't.
Question answered? All right, thank you. And we shall move on. Okay, this one is for Darrell Dempsey, is seeking to rezone from C2 to C1A. Tract of land, almost 7 acres along Highway 2 in Varnell. Ethan? Did I say Varnell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir, this is the
Yes.
city of Varnell, so we're switching from unincorporated county now to the city of Varnell. And our request here in front of us now is a request to rezone from general commercial to limited commercial. With the change with the difference between general commercial and limited commercial is that in general commercial, we talk about that as our sort of highway commercial district, generally highest and best uses in commercial. And of course, the subject property is currently zoned for that use. However, the subject property is not currently developed, and we'll look at some development maps in just a moment. But again, in some of the similarities and differences, these are two commercial zone districts. However, the limited commercial zone district, in terms of commercial development, is the most limited commercial zone district in the Unified Zoning Ordinance, and there are few commercial uses that are permitted in that zone district that are aimed towards generally professional services and office-type uses. However, there is a residential element to that zone district, limited commercial. It's intended to be a buffering-type commercial zone district where you would go from residential to a higher intensity commercial, and C1A would be sort of in between to serve as that transition. And so there are some residential uses that are permitted, that being single-family and duplex dwellings. One of the things about C1A is it does allow for a much smaller lot than you could get in other conventional residential zone districts. And given the sewer accessibility in this area, that can allow some smaller lots. Looking at the zoning in this area, we can see here, of course, at the intersection of Highway 2 and Cleveland Highway, we have here a pretty consistent commercial node of general commercial zoning, as well as some neighborhood commercial to the north. And then we can see outside of that some single-family residential, rural residential, and otherwise adjacent to the subject property, general agriculture. Looking at the city limits for the city of Ardell, this lies on the periphery of the city's current municipal boundary. And here we can see existing development in this area. While we do see that larger commercial zone district, part of that to the north adjacent is the elementary school. And just to the west, we can see the shopping centers and some of that commercial development more closely associated with the intersection itself. Closer look at the subject property. Just a note for orientation, the immediate adjacent property to the west at the intersection is the McDonald's. Many of us are probably familiar with there in Varnell. And this property, of course, as you can see, is adjacent to that and is currently wooded and undeveloped. And then again, to the north, you can see the school just across Highway 2. So in terms of existing development, the property currently has no commercial or residential character, so whatever development occurs on the subject property would be new. And with any commercial zone district, C2 or C1A, any commercial development of this property would be required to provide for a buffer along the entire eastern boundary of the subject property. And given the amount of vegetation that's there, mature, that likely could be accomplished by simply leaving that vegetation undisturbed. In terms of other things to consider, we have the future development map. This property lies within the rural residential zone or character area of the comprehensive plan, and that rural residential character area again is intended to protect the rural and lower density character of the county. And we can see currently the subject property is undeveloped and low density at its size. But given the existing general commercial zone district, there are a myriad of commercial uses that could occur on this property if desired by the owner. Limited commercial would somewhat limit the ability for commercial development and would be a reduction in intensity in a number of ways. We can also see that on two of the property's flanks, to the north and to the west, we have the Community Activity Center character area, and that character area is intended to provide for commercial nodes of development that would serve residential communities nearby, as well as permit higher density residential development near those commercial nodes. So given the comprehensive plan, the existing zoning, character of the property and area, overall being a reduction in potential development, and of course having dual access to both Highway 2, which of course any access to Highway 2 would be regulated by the Georgia Department of Transportation. Any commercial development in either zone district would likely be required to have things like ACL, decel lanes. But this property, of course, also has frontage on Old Prater Mill Road, so there's opportunity for division of land as well. With With all that in consideration, the staff recommendation is for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
What is in parcel C right now? The property in the middle of?
The cutout?
Oh, the out parcel, if we go back, you can see right now it's undeveloped.
Undeveloped as well.
Correct, sir. And that's also zone general commercial.
All right, thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
Mr. Dempsey?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dan Combs Jr. I'm the realtor for the owners of the property and am here to speak on behalf of them and to answer any questions. One question that you have, Mr. Perez, the cutout in the middle, that is actually the green field for before the McDonald's and the gas station had sewer. That was their greenfield septic system. So that, not part of this subject property.
Yeah, it's pretty much unbuildable then.
I'm sorry?
It's pretty much unbuildable.
Correct, sir.
Yeah.
Correct, sir. The whole reason behind this, the seller asking for this to be rezoned, Mr. Dempsey passed away earlier in 2023. It is now in his estate, and basically his widow's tired of writing a check for the property tax. We felt that having this go from a C2 to a C1A would be an easier sell for her and for the estate. It does limit the amount of commercial development that can happen there. Yes, it does add for some residential possibilities as well. We just felt that would be a feather in their cap to be able to move this property for Mr. Dempsey's widow.
So nothing specifically planned, just.
No, sir, nothing specifically
Making it
planned.
generally more attractive to more buyers.
Exactly. Open to broaden our buyer pool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else would like to speak in favor? Anybody would like to speak in opposition? Very well, that closes the public portion on that request. Final issue is with the city of Dalton is seeking to rezone from transitional commercial C4 to urban planned unit development, a UPUD. This is down off South Hamilton Street. We talked about this in the last meeting. Ethan, could you review for us, please?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The request here is unique, as you mentioned, just during the last Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission passed the text amendment which created the new zone district for urban planned unit development. So since we've talked about that in great length and detail, this would simply be the first proposal for an urban planned unit development in the city of Dalton. And we can see that the current zoning is transitional commercial. The transitional commercial zone district is intended to allow the same types of commercial uses that you would see in downtown, the central business district, while requiring off-street parking and things to that nature and conventional setbacks as opposed to the zero lot line and on-street parking character that we see in the central business district. So that's what the property is currently zoned. We can see adjacent to the north, general commercial, and we can see the transitional commercial surrounding the subject property. And of course, this is an area with a number of mixed development, various commercial, light industrial, heavy industrial further to the east near the railway. And then you can even see low-density single-family residential just a few blocks to the west. So this is an older area of the city that has seen a diverse amount of development over the years. And in terms of zoning, this would create an island. This would not be a spot zone because we're proposing, or what is being proposed here, would be the introduction of residential zoning and development within a commercial area as opposed to vice versa. So that is not necessarily a concern for us in this particular area, although we can see that there is no current adjacent residential zoning on the zoning map. Next is to get an idea of the existing development. Of course, the subject property formerly was owned by Mohawk and did have an industrial building on it a number of years ago. That building has been removed and currently the property is at grade. And we can see that the property is flanked as triple frontage currently on public roads. And we can see, again, a mix of development adjacent to the subject property, from single-family detached dwellings to commercial as well as industrial. Here in the comprehensive plan, we can see this area is within the industrial character area. So this is a unique circumstance that we had not intended to see residential development or did not foresee residential development in this particular location in the joint comprehensive plan. However, given, again, moving in the opposite direction of development intensity and going from commercial and industrial to residential, the potential for negative impact on adjacent property and disrupting the character of the area we don't see as an issue in this particular case. Again, going from industrial and commercial to residential generally doesn't create as much of a concern in these cases, particularly with the site plan that we have. As with any planned unit development, the site plan, much like the special use or conditional use permit, the development would be based or would be approved on the site plan. Any significant deviations from the site plan would require the petitioner to come back to the Planning Commission and the Mayor and Council for their review and approval of any major changes. So what we see here is a site plan that does meet all the criteria of the urban PUD zone district. And we can see the street design, a kind of a classic sort of grid pattern street design. We can see in the center of the property area set aside for their stormwater infrastructure, which they'll be required by the city, of course, to provide for that on this property. And of course, there's adequate water and sewer utility access here. Being in an industrial area, there's no concern for any capacity issues. And also part of the comprehensive plan was cites the Believe Greater Dalton housing strategy, which one of the most significant issues that came out of the joint comprehensive plan and Believe Greater Dalton housing strategy is the need for workforce housing. The Joint Development Authority, in partnership with the city, did apply for a new grant from the state of Georgia for the Rural Workforce Housing Initiative. That grant was approved at $1.5 million from the governor's office recently. And so the state of Georgia is in support of this project and believes it is an excellent implementation of that program. And I believe as a staff, this is an excellent implementation for the comprehensive plan and could become a great catalyst for this area to hopefully enable additional redevelopment of these areas. Staff recommendation is to approve, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
That's probably not on the planning at this point, but each resident will have enough parking for themselves, or they will have to park on the street.
I believe if we look there, I believe there should be enough off-street parking. But if there is on-street parking, it would be designed into the street to accommodate that so that there would be able to be emergency vehicle access.
So the street will be wide enough to accommodate parking, that's what you say?
If there's not enough parking on the properties for individual spaces off-street, then if there's going to be any parking on the street, it would have to be done in such a way as to allow for wide enough access for emergency vehicles.
Which that will limit the number of units, correct?
Correct.
Other questions? Thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
Does the city of Dalton step up here? There he is.
Good evening. I'm Todd Pangle, Assistant City Administrator. I'm actually representing the JDA tonight because my boss and JDA and everybody else decided to go down to Atlanta for Dalton Day at the Capitol. But I don't think I can add a whole lot more than what Ethan has already said. As he has said, there was a DCA grant for $1.5 million as well. The city has also shown a nod of approval to this as well by giving or committing over $600,000 to infrastructure development for this property as well. That was a condition for the approval for the grant that was given by DCAs. There had to be a match by your local municipality. And so the city council are in large favor of this project due to, as Ethan has said, it meets a lot of the criteria that was met by the Planning Commission and by the Believe Greater Dalton vision for workforce housing. And to answer the question, this is very unique. As you know, the UPUD was just approved by the county and the city as well, I think by this board. And so it's something like we've never seen before. But we've made trips to see other developments such as this, and be honest with you, I wouldn't have believed it until I saw it. But it works. You take a small piece of property such as this, and you're able to maximize the output on that property. And it takes a lot of planning. And as you see from the plan that you see there, there's been a lot of mind power that went behind that to make sure that we do have emergency access. My background, I'm going to make sure we have that. But also there would be deed restrictions and covenants that are placed on this that would limit how many vehicles are allowed per house. So in other words, and the intent here is not to have residents with 4, 5, 6 cars. The design of these streets are basically the sidewalks are street height. And so emergency vehicles are able to actually travel on the sidewalks when they need to. But any street parking that's in this development would be on curb cuts. So they'd be cut into the curb, and it would go into the property rather than into the street. Chris?
Todd, just thinking about the covenants that you say, covenants are great until they're not enforced or they expire. Who would be the responsible party for enforcing those covenants? I know typically in neighborhoods, there's a homeowners association or whatever. I don't know if that would be necessarily applicable here, or is that something that the city would oversee the enforcement of those covenants?
These will all be city streets, and so therefore there'll be no on-street parking except for those curb cuts that's been allowed that actually, as I said, will go into the said property.
And then the city would monitor that and address that if.
That is correct. Code enforcement and law enforcement.
Where did you guys visit?
There are several of these, and actually by the same architect, Kronberg's, in Atlanta. There are several of these. There's I think 2 just right there at the Beltway in Atlanta, and they are. They're quite impressive, and they're very nice. And I particularly like how they maintain the green space, and that's actually required within the developments. And and this unique location to this property right here provides for walkability to downtown. So it's going to encourage something I don't think we've ever seen in the city of Dalton.
Anything else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else who'd like to speak in favor? Anybody who'd like to speak in opposition? That said, we'll close the public portion on this request, which closes the public portion of this meeting. Y'all are welcome to listen in, but no further input will be accepted. Okay, let's jump right through it. First one. Arnett and Peck. Comments? I mean, it seems like it's limited. He said absolutely no more than 50, most likely 30, which is small.
Primarily during the week.
I move to be approved with the conditions included here, and to make sure that there's enough room on the Collie Cliff, since it's a half a mile long, that there's going to be access for vehicles to go in and out. Because I would hate to somebody.
Both ways or just single way?
Well, you can make spaces for it. Because I would hate to see somebody in the middle of the road
Bump outs, yeah.
facing each other, regardless of.
I think he was talking 18 feet, wasn't he?
That was the road on.
18 feet.
Is that Coley Cliff, or are you talking about the road that they're gonna cut into the resort? Is 18 feet. Coley Cliff, how wide is it?
It's narrow.
So that has to be improved.
Whatever they're going to cut into.
Yeah, I think he said the road that they're gonna cut back into the development was gonna be 18
development,
feet. Coley Cliff off of Dug Gap Battle to where you turn in to the drive back to the resort. I mean, I've just been by it on the road. I've never driven up Coley. I don't know how wide that half a mile section is, do you? Sure.
It's just right outside my driveway. I've got, as you can see, it's quite deteriorated already.
So,
Okay.
so this right here, the gravel piece, is that considered part of the road? Is it just partially
Yes, sir,
paved?
that's just right on the other side of my drive.
Okay,
I put that gravel there to keep running.
okay, so that's the width of,
Yes, sir.
I don't know, how wide would you pass that around?
That's barely 12 feet, I think. It's not 18.
10 or 11.
10, 11, yeah.
Yeah, my concern is since it's not gonna be county maintained, and the county has nothing to do with the road.
Right.
We will have to have an assurance from the developer,
Yes,
those things.
with a, so you
I
you
will add-
modify that?
I will add that to the conditions that they already placed in.
Okay, the conditions are, say it again?
That the road will have enough spaces in between that they will allow for 2 cars.
Coley Cliff Road.
The road that they're supposed to, I don't think this is this,
We're talking about two different things, I believe.
yeah, is Collie Cliff gonna be the only entrance?
Just the entrance portion now,
Use the entrance or the total road?
just the entrance.
No, I don't.
And then it
think
goes to,
wasn't
they got
right.
to develop a road.
Can you put that slide up just so we're talking, everybody's on the same page?
I'm asking the developer,
You're asking me, sir?
whoever is the developer.
Yes. So, let me.
A couple hundred yards on Coley Cliff.
So I think that what we're trying to ask is from where you turn off of Dug Gap Battle
Right,
onto Coley,
right.
before you get to where you make the left to go into your property back there, that be wide enough for 2 vehicles and emergency vehicles and that
And
sort of
for the
thing.
neighbors and everything.
Absolutely. I would never not want to do that.
Sure.
What I want to make sure is you're not making me make a double lane all the way back through there.
No.
Okay, because that would disturb the land.
I think we're talking primarily
At
about,
the front entrance?
Yeah.
yeah, from here to where you would go back into your property, this section right here, is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Because I've seen similar developments, but they do have room in case of one car come and facing each other. So we'll have to go back,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to go back a quarter of a mile.
Right, and honestly, I mean, the people that live at Coley Cliff now, their road is very narrow.
Very
over
narrow,
there.
and
So-
that's what I'm
so,
referring to.
Yeah, so I don't want to be in that situation on the entrance. So as long as we're talking about the entrance,
Yes.
I'm good, but if you're talking about that whole road.
No,
then-
just to get, because he said it was gonna be 18 feet wide back into the new part.
Yeah, that's
which is a
fine.
lot of room. And I would never wanna do anything to devalue.
Yeah, I think we're talking about just off of Dug Gap Battle to where you make the
Right.
left into the proposed,
Right, so we
project.
can all get in there comfortably without having to,
right,
you
Yes.
know,
just that little front section
yes.
there.
Yes.
You got that,
Because right now, it's we call it sort of a roundabout, a small roundabout, but that's what it is.
Okay, thank you.
so your motion is to, with,
To approve it with conditions, present conditions, and that there be enough room on the road that is gonna be built in case that one vehicle face each other, that it will have a space to move.
But when you say road to be built, I wanna make sure we're talking about the same,
Yeah.
because the road that they're building
Well,
into the property is gonna be
No,
18
I'm
feet.
talking about, if they're gonna use Collie
The
Cliff.
existing road that they're gonna need to improve a little.
They're gonna be-
yes, okay, with the improvements to the existing road. That's a motion? Second.
A second.
Jody seconds, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. one is C1, or C2 to C1A in Varnell, right off Highway 2. Any discussion at all?
I mean, we approve this presented.
Second.
Motion by Chris, Octavio seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. It's approved. The urban planned, or urban pub.
Motion to approve.
You said pub, that was a Freudian slip.
Is there going to be a pub? David makes a motion to approve.
I second it with the addition to that conditions, that there will be enough parking space within the development. And if the roads are gonna have to be wide enough, because when you're selling a house for somebody to live in, more likely you're gonna have 2 cars. So it will have to be enough room either in the covenants where the house will have parking space for 2 cars, or the roads will allow that to be included.
Todd, do you know how many spaces were kind of assigned for each residence?
But in a PUD, we have to approve it anyway.
Well, regardless of that, that's what I'm,
So, no, I mean, we're gonna approve it again when they bring the plan.
Final plat.
Yeah. So we don't need to put that condition on it. They're gonna bring us,
I want to put the condition on it now.
but Octavio, they're gonna bring, it's a planned,
I know, but I don't want the plan to come back over here with an iffy.
okay, well, we're gonna approve it.
Todd,
one way or
what,
another.
just preliminarily speaking, I know the plat's not been presented for us to look at, but how many cars on average were you guys allowing for per unit?
And if you look at the plans, there's 1 to 3 bedroom houses in there. And actually the breakdowns on that plan, but obviously the 1 bedrooms are meant more for like, studio.
See,
See if they can have
my
visitors.
concern is that you have looked at developments that have took place in Atlanta, and Atlanta has public transportation, and that's what most people is using now. We don't have that in Dalton. So each car will,
And that's in the curb cuts I was talking about, where we actually cut into the parcels, that's what those are for, is to account for that. And then, as you said, now, there's gonna be, you can't have street parking on Hamilton Street, we won't allow that. But then you got Nickel Street and Bryant Street that has some, that will make some accommodations there for some on-street parking there as well. And whenever you look, like I say, when we've done these plans, you can see a lot of this, because this is pretty close to being the final. The streets will not change, they cannot change, because we've made sure that we got fire department access and actually have another emergency access that's built into that as well. And also a lot of the stormwater is built into your green space as well.
I understand that.
But you can see that each one of the houses have a driveway, some of those are shared parking as well. You just can't tell because it's not up to scale.
I understand that. I just want to make sure that each resident is gonna have, each dwelling is gonna have at least parking spaces for 2 cars. That's my second.
That's your second? Okay, so had a first from David? Was that right?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to approve the plan anyway, so
Yeah.
condition or no, it
Yeah,
makes no difference.
okay, so we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? The ayes have it. That closes the closed portion of the meeting. We look at plats right now, so.
Okay.
This property we're gonna look at, I tried to point out for you where Big D Flea Market is. You see that on the top right of your screen, kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. It's off of Maple Grove Road. It's a triangular shaped lot. You've seen situations like this before. There are 2
Yeah.
dwellings on this property. And the only way for them to create a lot for each dwelling is to have one of those lots be a flag lot.
Yeah.
So that's what they're asking you to do, is approve 2 lots on the flag lot.
Okay.
Separate each dwelling with their own.
Second.
Octavio first, Chris second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
This next one is in the city of Dalton. Coming before you because it's in the city of Dalton. I tried to show you where the American Legion is located. I think it's where the American Legion is, so sure about that. Get an idea of where we are. We're
Yes.
close to Walmart. This property is an old subdivision, an old city subdivision called Glenwood, or, I'm sorry, Glendale. And what these owners are trying to do is create a vacant lot so they can build a house on this property. You see a house on here, but it's been removed. So what they're trying to do is create a vacant lot so that they can build a house. It meets all the requirements for, single family.
Okay. Everybody signed off on it?
Everybody signed off, and you don't see their signatures on here, but on the one that you
There's no zoning issue here,
No zoning
size,
issue.
because of the size or anything like that?
Motion to approve. Second.
There,
David, Chris, first and second. All in favor?
all in favor?
All opposed? The ayes have it. Is that it?
That is it. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Gene. Well done.
All right, got everybody?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that was.
I'll get you the sign. Can I give you the-
Could have been easier. I was hoping for a 30 minute.
It could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah. That's right.
Do we think that, Seneca Properties is gonna bring it back?
Oh, man.
Yeah. Do we think the Seneca Properties is gonna bring it back?
Yeah, they'll go.
Oh, I don't know.
I bet they scale it down.
Gene might know.
Yeah, that's coming back.
You think, that Doug Gap thing, think they'll come back at us in a month or two?
They'll come back.
They're gonna redesign?
That's what they told us when we met with them on Friday. The first proposal,
They're always on.
all out of town folks. The first proposal that they gave us was, maybe I should turn this off.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just pushed this button, but that's